Have you ever witnessed strange lights in the sky or experienced missing time? If so, you're not alone. These high strangeness incidents happen to people every day, all over the world, and we want to get to the bottom of them. Since 1969, MUFON has been at the forefront of UFO investigations, and we're not stopping now. Join Alex and Ruben, a team of highly skilled MUFON field investigators with years of experience, committed to getting to the truth. We'll investigate UFO events through guest interviews and witness accounts, analyzing data from various sources. Let's work together to unravel the mysteries of the unknown and get answers to the questions that have been unanswered for so long.
Hello and welcome to another episode of MUFON Up Close. I'm your host, Alex Tusia, with my co-host, Ruben Uriarte.
Alex, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. We're right here at the ending of 2024.
Very exciting. I feel like there's been, the year's just flown by, but there's been so much that's happened.
We're right in the middle of a flap, as we had been talking over the last several weeks about the drones that have been seen in New Jersey, New York, and all the other parts of the United States and throughout the world. It's fascinating. I would really like to get our guest speaker, Seth Feinstein, get his opinion of what's been going on, and if some of these videos or pictures that have been taken, if there's anything there that is very mysterious.
Yeah, we're very excited for our guest today, Seth Feinstein. He is currently working with MUFON as a volunteer. He is the Northwest Regional Director and State Director of Colorado, a member of the Photo Analysis Team, and the team lead for the CMS coordinators. He has retired from the payment processing world of banking and has been studying the UFO phenomena for 40 years. He has had 3 close-up experiences, 2 where physical crafts landed, and 1 as a youth when a UFO came into a metropolitan New York park directly over his head. Wow. Looking forward to hearing a lot about those stories and more from Seth.
Hello.
Welcome aboard, Seth.
Thank you. Yeah,
Seth, we would love to hear your opinion on the drones and kind of what you're reading about.
Well, what I've learned, I'm constantly learning. What it's my favorite thing to do, and the drone incident has taught me a few things. The first is there are a number of experts in our industry that the media goes to get their opinions on what's happening. And if you listen to all the experts, they all have a different opinion. And that tells me that they don't really know at this point what's going on. My own belief, which is not founded by anything but my own belief, is that the drones are ours. They're part of our government. And the reason they're not shooting them down is they're very expensive, and they won't allow anybody to shoot them down. So whatever duty or work they're doing, which they're not talking about, it's being controlled by our own government. What do you guys think of that?
It is interesting. I heard those comments from a number of other folks, and the question is, these drones, they must be really super sophisticated, from some of the descriptions of the witnesses saying how fast they go and or they tend to disappear. And do you think we're really that far ahead in technology now, Seth? Some of the theories that are being thrown out there, just definitely like to see what else, your opinion.
Well, my opinion is, the drone technologies, if we don't have them, somebody else like China or Russia has them, or Iran. So I'm thinking that's well within our current models within science. What I don't think we have, and there are a lot of people out there who say that a lot of the UFOs people see are ours. And I don't think we've mastered the technologies for the for the propulsion systems, other than rocket type of technologies. So anything without an engine or a rocket being propulsion driven without that, I don't think is ours. But as far as drone technologies go, in watching what's happening in the Middle East, I would say that if you're not preparing for war with drones, you're probably not preparing for current day war.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing some of the usages of these drones used for reconnaissance and flying over installations. So do you think these drones, if they are ours and they're having permission to fly into over airspace, or you think are we dealing with another phenomena beside the drones?
Well, I think in New Jersey, I think they are the drones, and there's been talk that they're doing a grid-like. They're flying in a grid-like pattern, like we would be doing if we were out in the field looking for in a strewn field of UFO parts. We would be with our metal detectors and be going up and down the field and then moving 3 or 4 feet to the right and going up the field again and back and forth. So they've been traveling in a grid pattern, and that would tell me it's some kind of exercise. I don't know if it's a real exercise or if it's, just a training exercise. But if they're in a grid pattern, they're looking for something. So the theories that there may be a smart bomb or some nuclear threat on the ground might be true. And
I've read some theories as well that they could just be running tests, saying how quickly can we clear a town or a city in that grid pattern. Just running time tests. It takes X amount of time for X amount of drones to run over this area of a space.
Yeah. The only reason I could see that somebody hasn't shot them down or they haven't gotten permission to shoot them down is because they are ours. I mean, where I live, if a drone comes over your property, I live on a ranch, and you're up in Wyoming up there, Alex. I mean, anybody flies over us with a drone, it's getting shot down. It won't make it across the property.
It's almost sport for some people out here.
Yeah, right. So there's no logical reason why it is not perceived as a threat, and there's no logical reason on why it's not being shot down, unless the people who make the rules are the ones who own it.
Yeah, if we want to compare it to the spy balloons from I think last year, those are flying around and those had a lot of activity, and those got shot down pretty quickly. I feel like the drones are much more. They propose much more of a threat than the balloon does, and yet we're not taking as much action with those. I think that tells us a lot too.
Well, I did a lot of research on the spy balloons. I wrote an article for the MUFON Journal on it, but there is a the spy balloons are interesting because they flew at an elevation. It was like the 40,000 feet to 70,000 feet elevation. And that, according to Travis, the scientist from Skinwalker Ranch, according to him, we have in our national defense system, we cannot defend that level of airspace. And the balloons were designed to fly at that level. And so that was very interesting. And the drones, they come in real close. So it's a completely different setup, I would think.
On those drones, has there been any particular video or footage that really made you think, that's man-made? And at the same time, have you seen any footage where it also brought up the fact that possibly it's not man-made? And have you seen anything that really has caught your interest, Seth?
Well, okay. So you're talking to a guy who gets into things that he shouldn't be into. For instance, I did a photo forensics evaluation of the Las Vegas alien footage, and I was able to pull the footage from the police cam video before it was removed from the internet. You know, there were 6.6 million hits on that case on the internet. It was definitely a viral case, and I was able to pull when the police officer asked the witness, where are the aliens? And he pointed across his backyard and said, over there. And he pushed his flashlight and his police cam was facing that area, and you couldn't see anything in the distance in the dark. Mm-hmm. Well, I did a full photo analysis of that, and actually interviewed the MIB, the person who did the surveillance of the witness's home. And I was able to pull up in the distance two very large humanoid shadows on the other side of the backyard. Now, the whole video footage disappeared from the internet and disappeared from all of the newscasts, the news stations. Pretty much within a 3-week period, it was gone from everywhere. But I had pulled it and made some still shots of it before it was taken off. And so I was able to determine that there were two shadow figures that were 8 to 9 feet tall in the distance across the backyard. So, when I get interested in something, I'm not afraid to jump in and try to do it. And there was another case of that too. I don't know if you guys Googled the 20-foot creature scaling Longs Peak, Colorado.
Oh, I think I saw something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah. So, at MUFON, we don't do cryptic. And this was, so what I normally do is I'll go to the guys and I'll go, guys, we need, to Steve and Robert, and I'll go, we need to do an investigation on this. This is a viral event, and they said, well, we don't do cryptic. We can't do that one, but I did a full analysis. I was able to contact the witnesses through their climbing club, and we had them as guests at our, I think it was our November MUFON meeting. And I did a full analysis, and it was a viral event that was like every news media that covers this kind of stuff had the event and showed the creature. Well, the creature was really a rock face, depending on the light conditions. And I was able to, we don't really say 100% believe it's true in MUFON. We like to do 90% and 80%, but I 100% proved that the alien climbing that rock face was rock itself with the light reflecting, based on having all kinds of different images at different times and different dates. We were able to 100% determine it was not real. Now, I gave the report to the girls, and the girls went back to some of the press people who interviewed them and talked to them, and they didn't want to run the story. They're not interested in it not being real. They're interested in selling newspapers by printing the story and hoping it's real, or not really caring if it's real or not. They just have evidence that it might be real. But nobody would publish the real data from the investigation. So why am I talking about this when you're talking about the drones? I was afraid to take on the drone situation and start pulling pictures and looking at them. I didn't really want to take on that project, but I thought about it.
I'll be excited to see what more information kind of comes out. Yeah, I feel like as we've gone, I feel like some people have been getting pictures. They're not the greatest pictures, but you are seeing some pictures start to come out.
Right. Yeah. And, with the spy balloon thing, there was so much press on the balloons that were shot down when they finally discovered they were there. And our leadership was saying, oh, these things are, are new and whatever. But, in MUFON, we get a lot of sighting reports.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of research to pull up all the balloon ones.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot more over the previous 2 years of balloons that to me looked like they were spy balloons in the MUFON case management system. So if we could get people to do research and find out things, there are so many answers. Like the presentation I put together with photo forensics of 4 recent cases. These cases all occurred, all were researched within the last month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Wow.
I've done 17 photo forensic cases this last month. Okay, and these cases that I'm showing today, they're amazing cases, and they've all been put in the system within the last month. There's a lot happening out there.
Yes. I'm real fascinated with your background there, Seth. Alex had mentioned some of the experiences that you've had, and how did you get into MUFON, and what got you interested in this whole field? I'd like to know more about your background there.
Well, back in the 80s and 90s, we had a group in Colorado called Denver UFO Society, and they were formed after after the early UFO sightings and stuff after World War II. And we didn't do investigations, but we were, we had a lot of speakers and talked a lot about the subject. And back in those days, people were interested in learning about the propulsion systems. Everybody wanted to be the guy to figure out how to power a UFO. And it never really happened. But we were part of the Denver UFO Society then. And then I mentioned in my report that when I was 15 years old with friends, we were in a suburban New York park, and we were looking at the sky. My friends and I were looking at the sky, and a silent object came right in from the neighborhood into the park. And it was only maybe 100 feet above our heads.
Wow.
And it had lights whirling around it, different colored lights, and it came right over us. And we were young, stupid kids. We didn't get frightened at all. We were going, oh, wow, this is so cool, man. Oh, wow, this is great. So, but the interesting thing is I remember the object coming into the park and coming over us, but I don't remember it going away. I remember being back home and turning on the news stations, which then we had 2, 4, 7, 9, 11, and 13 in New York, the PBS, and I kept going through all the stations looking for this, the news of it, and it wasn't anywhere. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't on the news.
Wow.
But Alex, you're going to love this. The 2 events that we had where there were landings in the field around us, they were both in Wyoming. Okay. Because back in the 90s, we used to go every year to the University of Wyoming, to the Leo Sprinkle Rocky Mountain UFO groups.
Yeah.
He had a conference Rocky Mountain UFO conference in Laramie, Wyoming. We used to go every year. And we learned pretty quick that McGuire Ranch, you know about McGuire Ranch? Yeah, it's owned by the university, but it is a place of high strangeness. And That was the site where we went out at night. So we would go to the conference in the day, and at night we'd go out to look for UFOs. And these 2 times they actually found us.
Wow.
So what did you see when those occurrences happened?
Well, the one that was most significant for me, which was the first time, what occurred, it was a very frightening event. And I went into shock.
Wow.
As the event occurred. You may, go out with a bravado and, think you're courageous and think that you really want to see it. But when it does occur and it's not within your normal paradigm, the first time it was very frightening and I went into shock. The story goes, we were part of a UFO group, and 4 of us went there, and we were having dreams and stuff like that, thinking, meditations and dreams and stuff. And we wanted to know it was real. So we went up to that conference that year with the intent to have it for real, to know that what we're getting in our meditations and in our dreams and all this stuff is not being made up by us or fabricated by us, but it's real. And so we went to McGuire's Ranch, the 4 of us, and we pulled in, and there was a guy in a silver truck, and he was under 5 feet tall, more like around 4.5 feet tall. And he had a silver truck, and he came up to us and said, "What are you doing here?" And we said, "Well, we're here to have contact with a UFO." And he said, "Wait here." And he drove off. And he drove off probably about a mile down in the ranch. And we see him flashing his headlights, on, off, on, off, on, off. And then he comes back. And we didn't introduce ourselves or give our names or whatever. And he comes back to be with us. And then all of a sudden, these, I'd say 7 or 8 orange crafts come into the field with us. They're egg-shaped, probably about 15 to 25 feet tall and maybe 12 feet in diameter. And there's like 7 or 8 of them in the field. They're all of a sudden in the field with us. Now, they're not staying in one place. They're like hopscotching all around. They couldn't stand still. They were moving like, all around us in the field. And I said, "Well, does anybody know who they are?" And he says, "Yeah, they're the Greys." And, back then, I thought the Greys were the bad guys who operated on you and, stuck needles in you and, did all kinds of stuff. And I thought the humanoids were the good guys, And what occurred was I started to get nervous when he said the Greys. And I said, "Well, does anybody know why they're here or what they want?" And he says, "Well, is there anybody here by the name of Seth?" And I go, "No, my name is Seth, not Seth." He goes,
Wow.
And he says, "Well, there's a guy named Zatar who is here to meet with you." And that was the guy I was having contacts with in dreams and meditations and stuff.
Was this prior to the event or after the event, Seth? When you were having?
Prior to the event.
Oh, okay.
It was prior to it.
Man.
And so then I went into shock. I started shaking and whatever. And I've recently been told the reason he didn't come out was because I was in shock.
Was this your first time that you had
that was
your encounter?
Yeah. Well, the one when I was 15, was above our heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These were in a field, in a very mysterious, field in the middle of nowhere. Right, Alex?
Most of Wyoming.
And, so that was my first time with that experience. We had a second experience up there also. And then I had a third experience while driving home. We had a minivan from the other experience we had. After that occurred, driving home, we were passed by a large silver semi on the road, and all of a sudden, my wife was sleeping in the back on the bed in the back, and she shot up and sat up and said, and all of a sudden she was. It wasn't channeling. It was like she was taken over by an entity, and she started talking in a not like herself. She said, "Oh, it is my pleasure to have it is my indubious pleasure to have this opportunity to speak with you." And she doesn't do that stuff,
Wow.
And so that was part of the second experience we had on the way home. And what happened was we were passed when we were on the side of the road by the other people we were with, and we ended up getting home before them. So we don't know how that happened. So I don't know if the two of you are ERTs. I think you are, right?
Yeah, I'm on the ERT.
And Ruben,
I assist some of the ERTs for translation if needed.
Yeah. So I have a big problem when it comes to disclosure. And my problem is I don't think it's the government's position to be the disclosing party. I think the disclosing party has to be them through, communication and making appearances and talking with us.
Do you think the drone phenomena that we've had recently might be part of that? Do you think with all this?
I wish it was. Yeah. If it was, we'd be closer to having. Yeah. Because we don't really know if they're good guys or bad guys. We know some are good and some are bad, like us. We don't know why they're here, and I do subscribe to Daryl Sims' theory from coming from a different place of why they're here. He believes they're here. Well, my theory is, I'll speak on my theory. My theory is, based on Torah, human beings have a physical soul and a God soul. And because we have a God soul, we have freedom of choice. We're not part of a hive mentality. And I believe that if they are abducting people and trying to preserve their race, what they're really trying to do is to discover how to breed the God soul into them, that they really have a physical soul, but not the God soul. See, they live for a long time, 700, 1,000 years or whatever. But when they die, they don't come back. When we die, we go through reincarnation and we come back. That's part of having the God soul within us. And so my thought process is, it's not about, DNA. It's about trying to breed in the God soul into their races so that when they die, they can come back.
Seth, do you think then they're interested in our spirituality? Is that facet of it, of us?
Um, yeah, yeah. It's more the soul aspect, the aspects of the God soul.
Mm-hmm.
So, they may know that God is out there, but we all have a piece of God in us.
Yes.
I'm not too sure if they do.
It feels like they're having some trouble then with their research, because they've been at this for quite some time, and they're still needing to do the research on their end.
I love it. Yeah, they're not perfect like us, right?
There's mysteries on both sides.
But yeah, I mean, it's there. There's evidence that it's been going on for 6 or 10,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So what? Yeah, why would we presume that disclosure would occur within our lifetime if it's been going on for 10,000 years?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, we're at the end of the cycle, but you really just don't know what part of the cycle we're in.
No. Anyway, so with my photo forensics and watching some of the groundbreaking work that other people are doing, I'm hoping that it could lead to a way of communicating with them.
We hope so.
Yeah. And what aspects, Seth, in terms of communicating with them?
Okay, so I've seen some science guys who have made photo forensic presentations to UFO people that they would never make to science people.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is they're dealing with theories. And some of these theories have to do with merging of different dimensions or different worlds in the same place at the same time, with portals and all that kind of stuff. So they can't really tie it to physics or science, but they're dabbling in these things that I think could unveil what is coexisting with us in our current reality. And so I'm really interested in getting involved in going beyond with the photo forensics, beyond where we're currently at.
How'd you get? I'm sorry, Seth.
Yeah, go ahead, Ruben. I'm sorry.
I was just curious. How did you get into the whole nuts and bolts aspect of this of the field? Alex mentioned that you were a banker at one time, and how did you gain your technical abilities in terms of evaluating?
Okay, well, my wife and I were both artists, and we have an art studio in the house.
Cool.
And I think art and science are very close. My father was a scientist, and because he was a scientist, I didn't want to be a scientist. And what I did was I have a degree in a visual communications degree with emphasis on photography and filmmaking. And I never, because I couldn't get a job in anything other than wedding photography, I ended up in the business world, and I went that way. So I went my entire working career without doing anything in filmmaking and photography. And then I started, Stacy Wright, the Arizona State Director, she asked Dennis Fryermuth, who's probably, if not the best, one of the world's best photo forensics, photo analysis people. And she asked him to help me. I had a case in Colorado. I don't know if you remember it, Alex. It was actually 7 cases and over 400 images.
Oh, wow.
From a guy who was, he called them star cruisers. and I said, "Oh my God, I gotta analyze this to do the case, and I don't know what I'm doing." So she asked Dennis to help me, and Dennis helped me, and he got me started. And then I took graduate course at CU, and now I'm taking a photography course to help me with the Photoshop part of it and whatever. I've done over 330 cases in the last 3.5 years.
Wow.
The PAT team has probably done about 15 or 20 cases over the last 3 years. And somehow somebody put me on the PAT team, to get if you're a MUFON field investigator, if you think you have a really, really great photo evidence or photo forensics, and you want it to be investigated, you go to our director of investigations, Steve Hutchinson, request the case. And the PAT team does the best of the best. And I did put an example of one we did this last month in the PowerPoint that I sent you. But it's really an amazing process when it does become a PAT case, in that you've got 5 really smart guys who are amongst the best investigators at MUFON. There's a lot of good investigators there, but these guys are really top notch. And all 5 of us all do our own thing on the case, and we all have different strengths and weaknesses in what we do on it. And a lot of times we come up with the same conclusion, and, we banter back and forth a little bit. But sometimes we don't come up with the same conclusion. Like the one I used as an example of that is one we did this last week. Then it's up to the field investigator to do the investigation and come up with what he thinks.
Right.
And so what happened was people started hearing that if the PAT team didn't get the case, that they could send it to me, and they were sending it to me. And then the powers at MUFON said that I need to be more focused on teaching people how to do it rather than doing it for them, so we came up with the boot camp to train people. And, so for me, I love working for MUFON. I love being a state director, but most of all, what I love the most is doing the photo forensics. And so Anniversary and I are, Ruben, you've been doing this for a long time. Anniversary and I, we're joyfully, we spend probably 6 to 10 hours a day doing MUFON stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
Probably we take Thursday off for bowling.
There you go. It's not work if you enjoy it, right, Seth?
Yeah. So, we just love doing the work. Hopefully we won't burn out, but
yeah.
And then, being a CMS coordinator, the team lead, we see all the cases that come in. We review all the cases on our shift before they get assigned. And actually, Ruben, you were kind of a phenomenon. So it was you and George Medish. So pretty much everybody else would wait until we reviewed the case before they would look at it and assign it. But you and George Medish always beat us from reviewing the cases. You were in on it, looking at it before we got there.
Oh,
that sounds about right.
Yeah, well, that tells me you were fully enrolled as the state director and
yes,
and looking at your cases and stuff. So it was kind of cool. And
I recently switched my roles. Now the assistant, and Devlin Rooney is now an excellent state director, and She is very interested in focusing on the whole abduction scenario and people having encounters. And same here. It's always been fascinating. But so you have such a diverse background there, Seth, and how long have you been with MUFON?
I think it's it's been 5 years. Yeah, it's about 5 years.
Oh,
We
right.
stayed away from MUFON for years. We a couple of times we went to a MUFON meeting. We went to the meeting when Stan Romanek came out with his sightings and stuff, and the field investigators were fighting with each other to take the case. It was kind of disgusting behavior, so we backed away then. And we always had the feeling that the best way for the government to be involved in the UFO industry was to be involved with the organization that does the investigation of all the sightings, but then we figured that doesn't matter. The government's going to be wherever they want to be. So, that's when we finally joined when we were retiring and didn't care anymore if they were involved.
Throughout the 90s and early 2000s, our symposiums was held in Denver for a couple of years, mainly because it was central and people from both sides of the country were able to get there at the midpoint. But and also economically, it was much better to have it in one location for a while. And I remember meeting so many interesting people over the years there, and Schussler and a lot of the other folks that are retired or no longer here with us. But yeah, that was a fascinating part. Also, I attended a conference, Seth and Alex, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. A speaker was put together by David Paulides on missing 411, missing people, and he was looking at, is there a correlation between the Bigfoot phenomena and UFOs, and also it was also to bring both communities together in that, and it actually I found it quite fascinating, some of the forensic work that was being done by the Bigfoot investigators, and that was actually I was blown away. Some of the video footage they used, one was infrared segment, but you could actually see the silhouette of a being, of this creature walking almost like a human, but its gait was like a human, but at the same time you could see the shoulders and the head and then the background, and
wow.
That's something I think that's where that whole gray, for lack of a better word, gray area, but where both the cryptid and the MUFON, in terms of our forensic or investigation, I think there's a crossover, definitely. Yeah, and I think it's great that MUFON, most of the people that Alex and I have been interviewing, that we've had as guests, are serious researchers, but they have this metaphysical connection as well. Maybe I'm not describing it or finding the right words, but there's something there that should not be ignored, and I find that always very interesting to hear someone's opinions, and as well as the whole spirituality aspect of it.
Well, everybody has a background that they came from. And, in the early 90s, I was studying theosophy, Madame Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, all that kind of stuff. And they also had an organization called the Tibetan Foundation, which taught people how to meditate and do that kind of stuff. And open up communication channels and all that kind of stuff. So that was the basis, even after I had some sightings too. And the other thing that happens a lot to people in our industry, I did have a near-death experience. I nearly drowned, which, seems to be the event that, spiritually opened my senses. Let's just call it senses. That's what it is.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I had a similar experience too with
You did?
drowning.
Oh, what happened was in 1979, I grew up in New York, and I moved out here in 1979 to Colorado. And the first thing I did was did a rafting trip, one of those rafting things. And it was the first weekend of the year, and I had a trainee rafting guide, and they just let off the high water, the cold water from the reservoir up above. And so the trainee, we were in the raft, and I was in the back, and I had my hands wrapped around the rope, and we went into the most dangerous. She took us right into where we shouldn't have been.
Oh.
And the nose of the boat went down and came up like this, and I got sucked into a suck hole, pulled right out of the back of the boat into a suck hole, and I was being held under, and everything went black. And I had a discussion with the maker. When you talk to the maker doesn't talk back, but I had a discussion with the maker, and I said, okay, I know I'm not doing too good with my life.
Wow.
I said, and if this is my time to go, you can take me, I'm ready to go. But if you let me live, I said, I'll do better. I'll change my life and do better. And then all of a sudden, everything went from black. It became flooded with light, like Ruben's face has light. I mean, it was flooded with light, and I was being held under. In cold water, you don't have the ability to use your muscles and swim, and so, and all of a sudden, I shot out of the water like a cork coming out of a champagne bottle. I mean, I didn't just pop up, I shot up. And so I rode I didn't die. I almost drowned. And I rode the rapids without a boat. And then swam to the shore, sat on the shore, and, sat on the shore, mulling over what happened to me, that I nearly died. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this large black snake just appears out of nowhere, and it has an orange coil around its neck and went right across the bottom of my feet.
Oh.
And I'm not a big snake person. I said, oh my God, if the water don't get me, the snakes are going to get me, But that was this, I changed my life after that.
Wow.
And that's when,
brought you here. Oh, my experience was, I was still a kid back then. I was on one of those big inner tubes, and my mother, there was a creek that we were at, and my mom was yelling at me to get, I was going out in the deep part, so I let myself go, and I went down into the water. And then I just got the feeling that I had was so peaceful. I was just looking. I could see everything underneath the water, the surface, and it was like a big calmness. and a quietness. And then all of a sudden, I felt someone pushing me by my rear end. It's pushed me right toward the bank. And I was like, it startled me because it was so fast, and I was moving forward, and I was able to finally stand up and get out of the water. And I look back, I don't remember who did that. I was told that there was no lifeguard in that area. Yeah, it's still an amazing feeling. Maybe I was rescued by somebody, but that saw me in trouble. But I'm grateful that I'm here.
What changed as a result of that occurring?
I was just a kid. I think but I also had my experience seeing a UFO when I was living in Oakland. And I always felt that when I had that experience, seeing something, I always felt like I was being watched. And then afterwards, I had this strong desire of learning more about science and science fiction at the time. Anything related to space. That just had this overwhelming curiosity.
So you think that incident caused you to be on your life path?
I think, I didn't even think about it, Seth, until when you brought up yours. Maybe there is a connection to that, and then some of the other experiences that I've had. Yeah. Amazing.
Well, why don't we hop into our break now, and then when we come back in, we can hop into Seth's presentation and go over some awesome photo analysis.
Yeah, people like to see that stuff.
We all do.
But what's amazing about it is really these are just like 4 of the last 7 cases I've worked. And I'm not I was only the investigator on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The others were all just the photo forensic side. And, there's so much happening. We have to advance the field and get it to the next level. It's not working for me anymore, waiting for disclosure. We got to figure out a way to have open communication.
I like it. I hope we can get there.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
The experiencer phenomenon is happening for a lot of people just like you all over the world. People are telling very similar stories about personal encounters with non-human intelligence. The Mutual UFO Network has research, resources, and support to help you make sense of what is happening. Our experiencer community is growing every day. Join MUFON, find your friends.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
And we're back. We would like to remind all of our viewers that Ruben, Seth, and I are all MUFON investigators. If you would like to learn more about the MUFON activities in your state or become a MUFON investigator yourself, please join us at MUFON.com to reach out to your state investigators and learn more about the process. We'd love to have you. Seth, we were going to hop in and have you show us a wonderful presentation about video analysis.
Yes. So all of these cases we're going to talk about, they're all cases that have been or are in the process of being investigated. This first case, I leave off the case number because the witnesses in the case want to remain anonymous. And you can see in the picture here, there is a triangular shaped object with 3 lights on the points and 1 in the center. And next we'll show the video of it. Okay, so that video was taken by the witness just south of the Wyoming border, Alex.
Ah, there you go.
Colorado. So you didn't get the case. We kept it. She lives in Wyoming, but the actual occurrence occurred on Highway 14 south of Braggs, Wyoming on the Colorado side.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what we do, the first thing we do when we do photo forensics or photo analysis, the first thing we do is we pull the metadata to authenticate the video or authenticate the images. This video is unaltered. It was made on an iPhone. It does not show the creation date. What I do, because I was trained at CU on authentication, the exit data gets pulled. I pull EXIF data or metadata on everything I do from usually 2 or 3 sources, to help authenticate and corroborate the other sources. Sometimes you can pull information on one source and not on another. But I do it, I'll pull it from 2 or 3 sources. And what you see here are 2 different reports. I think one is pick to map and the other is metadata to go. I also use a few other ones too, depending on whether it's a video or if it's a still shot. I have 3 or 4 I use for each type.
What kind of data are you looking for when you're pulling this EXIF information?
Good question. The first thing you're looking to do is you're looking to determine if the correct date and time of the sighting. Most of the time, people put in their witness report, that it was on a date, and then they say if it was an exact date or not. And then the time is usually 7 p.m.
Sure.
Right. So they'll put in an hourly time, and it's your job to, before you do any investigation, you could put in a couple hours of work and then pull your metadata after that and find out you've got the wrong date or the wrong time you just investigated. But I don't remember what she said here in this report, but the date was of the sighting was 8/10/24. She had that, and it was at 9:45 p.m. I think she had 1 a.m. or something like that as the time. So you have to have the right time if you're investigating things like, meteor showers or satellite passings,
Yeah,
or
planes even.
airplane data or whatever. So if you do it based on the witness saying it was 7 p.m., even if they have the right date, and then you find out it was 7:35 p.m., and you're looking at a flight radar to see what flights came by, that's you're going to have to do it again. And I'm sure you guys have done that before in your investigations, where you figure out later that you had the wrong time.
Oh yeah, sometimes you get a report and they give you a time and you're looking at the flight radar data and you say there's nothing in that time at all. Let me go, an hour before and an hour later. And sure enough, you find something that matches their description.
Right. Another thing you look for is you're looking for the equipment they used and the camera settings.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing you're looking for is GPS. If they have the GPS turned on, most everything we deal with is cell phones. Cell phone MP4 files for videos or cell phone images. And actually, the first conference, the first photo forensic conference, we've got two masters for cell phone imagery that are going to be training at the first conference because that's so much of what we do. So we look for, there's normally more than one time in the metadata. And what we're looking for is the creation time, the earliest time. Sometimes what'll come up is the date on the file will be the date that it was downloaded to the MUFON CMS. So you have to be careful with stuff like that. And then the geodata. We love the geodata because it gives you, if the geodata is turned on, you can get the correct GPS location, the exact location. And sometimes it even tells you the direction and the altitude of the object. Okay. Next slide.
If somebody were to be taking pictures from like a camera, just like an actual camera, not a cell phone, would it give different types of EXIF data?
Yeah. Again, it has to be turned on. Normally it's turned on in cell phones, and it's not turned off unless the operator turns it off.
Right.
But it has to be turned on. Okay. So these are two different forensic images of the object. And they both, the object is in the upper left of the picture. And then we have a close-up forensic shot. And the one on the left, you can see clearly that it is a triangle shape.
Mm-hmm.
And the same on the one on the right. The one on the right is luminance gradients, which measures the light. So it tells you physically what's there based on the light reflecting. And the one on the left, I believe, is an 8x magnification of the object. So you can see the four lights and the shape and whatever. It really is a triangle.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Next. The video that came with it is unaltered. It's original. It has not been photoshopped. The object in the video looks like the same object in the images. You can tell this from the metadata and by doing other tests. We have many MUFON case examples of triangular-like shaped objects. None of these triangle-shaped objects are known to be of human manufacturing, nor do we have any evidence or any witness testimony anywhere from anyone credible that would state that there was a human flying the triangular craft. So that tells you, my belief system is, again, like I said earlier, if it is not a rocket or engine propulsion or battery propulsion, it's probably not ours. Okay. Next. Okay, so this was a very interesting fact in this case. for all of you who are investigators, and a lot of you are, I'm sure, the witness who filled out the signing report is the father of the daughter who was the sole witness of the event. The daughter shot the images provided in the report, and she is listed as the second witness on this report. The father helped his daughter by filling out the report for her. Now, one of the questions asked that we have to answer as investigators is, did someone other than the witness fill out this report?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, if I had checked that box, then this great case would have been turned into an information-only case. Because when you check that box, the disposition becomes information only. I chose not to check that box because we have a real witness and we have metadata verifying an image authenticity, and we have a location, a direction, an exact time, and a date. And it is my belief as a field investigator, as a trainer of field investigators, and as the team lead for the CMS coordinators, that any case that has a location, a direction, and an exact time and date should be investigated to determine a real case disposition. What do you guys think about that?
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we don't like, you guys are very experienced, good field investigators. I don't like seeing people doing information only and stuff because they didn't want to do the investigation.
I feel like information only is really like that for me personally, that's my last, if I absolutely have to put it in there. If there is any other kind of data in there, I like to put it in as something else because it really helps somebody else that's looking for information or looking to reference a case. Even if the witness, sometimes the witness might not have the right dates and times, but even then, you're still able to get more information on it. It might still have to be information only because you can't get the weather data, the flight data, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you still know that something happened in this area around this time. And you can always go back and reference it. Maybe, a few years down the road, you notice a pattern that, a lot of other people notice something around that same time frame.
Well, now that they have RDs, regional directors, and Anniversary is the CAG director, I mean, we're all into quality of work.
Mm-hmm.
And the culture is going to start changing where, reports are going to be complete and and people are going to do the investigations. And the bottom line is most people want to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they came into MUFON, to do it the right way. But somebody trained them along the way, or they fell into bad habits. But the culture is going to change.
Well, good. Now I know, Seth, that you do a great job. I know that when they put out the monthly reports, Colorado is always up there as having a high completion rate for their cases. And I know you do a great job personally of reviewing people's cases and really helping them to become the better investigator. And I do appreciate you for doing that for your team.
Oh, thank you. Okay, this was an interesting case. The reason I put this case in, this is a 11.26 second video that looks as if it was taken from the fourth level of an apartment building in the snow. A white object appears out of nowhere in the sky to the left of the 4-story building on the right. Within 2 seconds, it swoops in and it is gone. This is a case that the PAT team did about 2 weeks ago. Again.
And we play it one more time for us.
And then at the 2 second mark, stop it if you can. Anyway, okay. Well, this is a case where the PAT did not agree on what it was. And next slide, please. Next slide. PAT team does not always agree. We all use scientific methods to perform photo analysis and photo forensics. The PAT members are all very intelligent people and are skilled investigators. Our methods or the softwares we use slightly differ, and each of us has a different set of skill sets, and we use the tools we're comfortable using. And even though we all use the scientific processes to reach the dispositions we do, we don't always agree. And this is a case we didn't always all agree. Okay, next. I want to give a little shout out to Ahmet Ozik, who is the investigator for this case. If people want to go in and look at this case, he did a great job investigating the case. But let me write. This is what he wrote in there. Dennis Fryermuth said, "I know and feel the bright light on a craft coming out from behind the cloud cover and flying just beneath the clouds in a descending attitude." And then Greg, who's another brilliant guy, wrote the GPS coordinates confirm Ankara, Turkey. It looks like a meteor to me, but of course, that is not 100% confirmed, and it could be anomalous. Robert Spearing wrote, "The only thing I can add is that the American Media Society logs shows almost no worldwide media reports on December 3rd, none anywhere near Turkey." And then I wrote, "A white object appears out of nowhere in the sky to the left of the 4-story building on the right. It sweeps in and is gone. The sweeping activity is much like many videos I have looked at when bugs appear and then disappear in the camera's blur zone." So to me, the trajectory looked a lot like a lot of the Ring doorbell videos we see. Bug flies through. It looked like the same motion to me. So we all disagreed. Next. And so that was it. And then the investigator happened to do a really, really great case. And if any field investigator wants to see a good case, they can go look at that case. If they want to see a good case, they can look at some of our Colorado cases. Anniversary Feinstein's cases are great. And our CI, Nancy Carey, I think she's the model for how cases should be done. So I'd recommend anybody who wants to see what we do and consider good cases, they can look. Okay, this was another one that we did recently. This took place in Louisiana. It was not my case, but I was asked to take a look at the video, and you can see what looks like a chevron shape object in the picture. The video is a little dark. I don't know if you can lighten it up, Alex, if you have this software on that to lighten it up.
Yeah, we'll play the video and see what we can see.
Little lights on it. Look at this. That's what I'm talking about. Where did it go? It's just like this. Very faint wave now.
It up. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, so here's a picture of the object and photo forensics. It looks like a magnification. This 20-second video had to be light enhanced to view the anomalous object. The speed was slowed down. A chevron shape lit the object, is visible centered midway up from the bottom at 12 o'clock on the screen. It's viewable for 9 seconds of the video. One can see in a zoomed enhanced view that the object is moving past astronomical objects real fast. In other words, it passed 2 stars or 2 planets in an unbelievably short period of time, and the object looks like it was huge. The star appears to be further away and has a greater luminance than the object that passed it. So this is what for all of you who want to know how to do the videos, you can go to the bottom right of your screen and click the buttons. And first thing you do is you slow the video down to the slowest. Second thing you do is you use the video enhancement button, and you add bring in more light into the video. Mm-hmm. And if the object is more towards the center, you can zoom in and get a better look. Okay, next slide. So I'm thinking this object is an unknown because I just saw this huge object pass 2 planets or 2 stars like they were standing still. Next. Okay, so what incarnations am I missing? So when we teach our investigators to investigate, we have them use a critical thought process where they look at all the data and read all the data from that the witness keyed in to determine all of the possible theories that the object could be. And, this one was pretty hard to determine the theories, and I kept watching it and going over it and watching it over and over again. And what I noticed was that the chevron was not keeping its shape. It was varying slightly, and certain parts were going ahead of it. Certain parts were falling behind in the 20-second video. So I said, this may be a bird migration.
Right.
And I said, oh, darn, I thought I had an unknown, and I discovered the bulk of migrating shorebirds passed through Louisiana in September and October, and this was the 3rd week in September. The chevron-shaped flight formation is what the birds use to migrate for energy efficiency. And the shape of the chevron in the video slightly shifts as it travels through the sky. A close-up flying object would appear to be exhibiting unobservable speeds, passing by objects thousands of light years away stationed behind it. And the chevron object may be reflecting moonlight. It might not be self-lit. Next. Okay, so here's another photo analysis shot, and you could almost see some bird body shapes. Maybe a little bit. Okay, next. Okay, so that was the case there. That case is still in progress. It has not been completed, and it's not my call. I did the photo forensics, but the investigator in the state of Louisiana, or CAG investigator, is doing the investigation, and he gets the call on what he decides it is. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is a really, really interesting case. Okay, we're good on time. Okay, yeah. This is an ERT case, and I had to be really, really careful not to put any information that would give anything away on who and what case it is. Right, Ruben? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And so this case came with 7 images plus 2 MP4 videos. Now, one of the videos was sent after the case was filed. So there are 5 images. 5 of the images are of skin markings caused by what the witness thinks were markings by the aliens in abductions. In one video, the witness has a dog that lunges at the window barking, and the witness claimed that the dog was shape-shifting in the video and was barking at him. Okay. The other video is the witness sleeping. She claims her sheets were being manipulated by an unseen entity. And then 2 of the images have pink colored little entities in them. And, so George requested that this be a PAT case. And I sent it into Steve requesting, and he didn't think it was valid for that. So once again, I did the forensics on it anyway. Because I like George, I want to help him.
But it's hard too. You see a good video, and I'm sure your curiosity gets the better of you, where you really want to know the answers yourself.
Yeah, I do have that curiosity. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, so this was one of the photos in there. It would be, and my answer to all of the photos that had markings or punctures and all that kind of stuff on them, which was also confirmed. My answer is also confirmed by Steve Hutchins' opinion on this, but it would be irrelevant for the wound images to be photo analyzed other than pulling the metadata. I am not qualified to know if these wounds have been self-induced, are legitimate medical conditions, or were caused by something else. I mean, how could I analyze that? Yeah.
More for a reference or comparison to, are these marks similar to other marks that we've seen at MUFON?
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, if the testimony comes down where it is determined that a abduction did occur or could have occurred, it becomes supportive of that. But at MUFON, we really feel that the case needs medical records, because we don't know really what it is. And if not medical records from the witness doctor, I would think that we would need all of those images evaluated by a skin doctor to say, hey, no, this is a rash, I don't know what these punctures are, or whatever,
Yeah. It'd be a lot of that. It would be a lot of doctors coming back saying, I don't know what this is, or, maybe it'll go away in a few days. It wouldn't be, the answer still wouldn't be satisfying to us.
Yeah. So it's really hard to scientifically evaluate in photo analysis. We can't scientifically analyze other than reading the metadata, these type of images. So, for me, I like to teach and train. And so the reason I wanted to include this is for teaching and training.
It's excellent.
Any questions, you guys, on that, or any comments? No? Okay. Next slide. Okay. The dog video. Oh my God. A big dog, rushes toward the window inside a home. It barks as if something required defense or it wanted to attack something outside. So what I know about, I've made a study of camera artifacts and photographic noise and artifacts. And ghosting artifacts in photography are caused by light reflecting off the lens or mirror frame of the camera.
Sure.
The light source, a strong light source in front of or at an angle to the lens, can cause the lens to reflect light into the scene. And definitely when we get to the next shot, you'll see that there's strong light coming in from outside. It's dark inside and there's strong light coming in. So this is what we have at the 12-second mark of the video is the dog standing looking out the window after it attacked the window and started barking. And then at the 19-second mark, we have the dog looking a different direction and the ghosting, the same image that was at the 12-second mark.
Yeah.
Okay. Now okay, next slide. So this is the full shot of the room, and at the 19-second mark. And what you can see is every place where the sunlight hits, there's like funky lines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere the sunlight is hitting, direct sunlight. Next slide. So I call it a strewn field. When you're out doing a physical site investigation, you're looking through the strewn field for UFO parts. Well, in this case, on the couch, we have a strewn field of clothing, and it creates light and dark anomalies, which is shown in this blow-up picture here. There's no distinct patterns that lead me to believe that anything other than direct light coming in from the window is causing the ghosting artifact. The dog is not morphing. The witness thought the dog was morphing. So we do get witnesses who make funny statements. I'm sure you guys, the one that drives me the most crazy is when I'm reviewing CMS, as a CMS coordinator reviewing cases, and the witness says the object was 21 to 50 feet away. And then I look at the video and it's out in space.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, unless you're a pilot, people really have a hard time judging the distance of how far something actually is.
Yeah, but I know they do. But they do make, and ever since the Navy Tic Tac video, almost everything that's an oval is, I saw this Tic Tac.
Yeah.
Right? So do you guys have any pet peeves for witness statements, funny witness statements?
Oh,
I really don't enjoy when you do a solid investigation and you let the witness know, hey, you actually didn't see a UFO. That was just a flock of birds. And then they get upset with you. Like you're trying to pull an over on them and they get upset with you. That happens more frequently than I would like. And that's always frustrating to me.
Well, I've contemplated that phenomena. So the first thing I've figured out is that when people make a UFO report, they get real excited and they want to be part of the club that has seen something from out of this world or that is not supposed to exist. And they probably talk to all their friends and their family, and they tell them about it. And so they create an unrealistic expectation. And then, so they get disappointed to learn that their object has been identified. And sometimes they get mad.
Yeah.
And I had an incident about a year ago from a former federal marshal who got really pissed off and let me know he knew where I lived.
Oh, good.
Sometimes as a state director,
wow.
you have to deal with that stuff.
That's scary.
But for field investigators, if somebody comes back at you like that, I would say immediately give it to your state director and let them deal with it.
Yeah.
I had a situation, Seth and Alex. Sometimes there are these people that are involved in the CE5 protocols. So they go out with a camera and they initiate contact and they start filming. And I had one case where this gentleman submitted more than 20 cases separate. Each one every night he took a picture and then sent it to us. And I had to tell him, I'm sorry, but we just aren't equipped to handle that many. And continue with what you're doing. But if you can, because of our limited resources, we can't look at every case that you're submitting. And so finally, I talked to who was Steve, and asked if we could make it a what do you call it? I'm losing my memory today. uh, where we could make a rapid case.
Mhm.
Just rapid case. That way we don't have to spend as much resources in that. Do you ever come across that, or I guess it depends on maybe what event is and the people that are there.
I definitely see some frequent flyers, people that put in reports, if not weekly, a couple times a month, and you just start to recognize the name after a little bit.
Yeah. I could,
Well, I've had there's like 3 ways I could deal with that. The first way is, sometimes we need the work to keep everybody busy, so I don't mind it. The second way is, like you did, you can talk to the witness. And now what I would do is I would try to recruit the witness as a field investigator.
There you go. There you go.
A normal person. Look, you have such a big interest in this. You need to become a field investigator.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
And the third type of answer is if it's somebody who's, really delusional or out of control with this stuff and completely wasting your time, you can request that their IP be blocked.
I usually always, whenever I get a case, I like to start off and I'll always look up and see, has this person reported in the CMS before? And that usually tells you a lot of info. If it's their first case, then you know that, this person probably didn't go out of their way, spending time out of their day to, put in a false report. Hopefully not. But then sometimes if you see, this person has 20 cases in the CMS, 20 of them are, identifiable, then kind of have an idea what you're getting into.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we had two of those, and I'm sure you've probably done at least one of them when you were here in Colorado, Alex. Yeah. But we had 2 that were doing it, and they were very nice people. Mm-hmm. And they had very reasonable work positions and whatever. And after, 12 or 15 cases or whatever, and probably all but 1 or 2 of them were identified, they lost interest in putting in the cases.
I remember when the Starlink project was just starting and all these launches and all, we're just getting swarmed with videos from people.
I feel like we still get swarmed with Starlink videos.
Yeah, it does happen. Yeah, still there. But after a while, you can sense or the flight pattern, and you could see something characteristic of a Starlink, and then look through your database and find out if a Starlink train it was passing over at what particular time, if that matches with the witness, and sometimes you verify that it was a Starlink.
Mm-hmm. People get some really great videos. I haven't actually seen it myself, but I would love to see this, 20 lights, equally spaced, just flying right over you. That just sounds like that would be cool. Even if you know what it is, even if you don't, it still would be quite fantastic.
Well, we talk to a lot of people in all the positions we have. And I found that there's a movement going on in MUFON right now where investigators are believing that some of the Starlinks people are seeing are not Starlinks. Yeah. So that's actually one of the studies I want to do, because we know when the Starlink launches started, and we can look up cylinder crafts and do research on cylinder crafts before, and see if there are any that look like the Starlinks to know if there's something else out there.
Mm-hmm.
But, so if any viewer wants to do that research with me, I'm looking for a partner to do that research. I don't want to do it by myself. But that is a project I want to do.
That'll pull up some great data. I think that's a great project, but definitely have your work cut out there.
Well, maybe you'd like to do it with me, Alex.
If I can find the time.
Yeah, you still work. But anyway, I'm finding people. It's blowing my mind. This picture is a Starlink. Well, no, I think it's a UFO. I'm going, what? Anyway.
I mean, imagine if the entities that are kind of piloting these crafts. Imagine they are trying to mimic, Starlink in some way. They say, "Hey, there's already these lights in the sky. Let's just fly in that same formation, and nobody's going to kind of notice us."
Mm-hmm.
But-
Okay, let's go back to the case.
Yeah.
All right, we got a video to show from that last one.
Yeah. Okay, so watch the sheets by her chest.
Yeah, I see it fluttering.
Okay. Okay, go to the next slide.
All right.
Oops. Is there a slide before that? Or was that?
No, that's the one. Sorry, it's not. It's at an angle there.
Well, I can explain it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what it was, so I did all kinds of forensic tests on that because I wanted to see if I could see the shadows or an energy or something touching her blouse or the cover over her neck area there. And the only theories I have is it could have been her hand up, her elbow was bent, could have been her hand under there. But I did, before she shifted her positioning was 12 seconds of video. Okay. Within that 12 seconds, the sheets bumped out 4 times. So I did some research into what the breath rate is per minute for people sleeping. And it typically is 12 to 20 beats a minute, breaths a minute. Sure. For older people, it could be as much as 28 breaths per minute. Okay, so she moved 4 times in 12 seconds. 12 times 5 is 60 seconds. So I take 5 times the 4 breaths. That's 20 breaths per minute. So the sheets bumped out. At the actual acceptable breathing rate for an adult sleeping. So I conclude that video is nothing more than the breath rate of a sleeping person.
What was the context around that video? Like, it looks like somebody else is kind of taking a video of this person sleeping.
I think she has a security camera. She's an abductee, and she has a security camera in her bedroom to catch what's going on.
That makes more sense.
And anyway, so that's what I think.
That was a good one.
Next slide. Okay. Well, this looks like something in Egypt, but this is another photo forensic technique. And it shows I used everything to see if there was any shadow or anything anywhere outside of her in that location. And I conclude there was nothing there but her sleeping in the bed. Next. Now, this is very interesting. The witness claims this is a visitor present in her bedroom. Okay. Now, there are a few problems to overcome to authenticate this image. Okay, next slide.
I can definitely see what they see, though. You can definitely see what looks to be a shape of some kind.
Yeah, it looks like a little guy.
Yeah. Just in there.
Yeah, and the chest of drawers is about probably 34 or 36 inches.
Yeah, it gives you a good size perspective at least.
Yeah, so we're looking probably at a 32-inch creature, maybe, if it is a creature. Was there any metadata to authenticate this image? The identification and authentication process is hindered because every file attached to this case cannot be authenticated. Every image did not have any metadata on it. Now that means that these images cannot be used in a court of law.
So what does that actually mean when somebody, does that mean that the person that submitted it actively removed the metadata before submitting it?
We don't know if it's shut off or it was removed. But either way, we know that we cannot pull a date and a time.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we can't verify the location. But even with all that stuff, now with what we have, we should be able to do the next step in the process, which is to determine if the video or the still shots have been modified or altered or edited in any way. So the next slide, the slide on the right is the slide we're analyzing. The slide on the left shows what was photoshopped.
Huh. So someone just dropped in this.
Right. So the bedroom up top, bedroom was dropped in. The sound at 627, the whole line, this little guy showed up at Roku, it's dropped in, the circles dropped in, and the scratching over the two faces of the individuals sitting in the bed, that was put in. But guess what? There's nothing saying that that little humanoid shape was put in. That humanoid shape came with the image.
Huh.
Okay, but we can't, even though we could say that the humanoid came with the image, we also know that the image was edited and photoshopped, but that entity was not part of the work that was done to it.
But if it's Photoshop, Seth, how do you know, or what gives you the clue that they use Photoshop?
Well, I use forensically, and if you have in forensically, they have 3 tests to know if an image has been altered or photoshopped. They have clone detection, they have an error level analysis, and they have a noise analysis. And I use those 3 tests to learn what was altered in the picture.
Do you find that this whole topic of artificial intelligence, AI, do you find it that, or has that been used to alter any photograph in some respects?
Okay, yeah, AI is very interesting. I don't know a lot about it, but what I do know is that the Apple iPhones use AI technology in low light conditions. It'll take 4 shots for every 1 shot and use AI to pick the best rendition as interpreted by the AI of the object. So really, AI with the current cell phone images is really not an accurate copy of what's really there. It is an AI created thing. The other thing with AI, when you use AI to analyze images, you have to be very careful because the AI can create photographic noise and artifacts itself. So you have to be knowledgeable enough and skilled enough to not use the AI to create a fictitious image or an artifact or noise riddled image using the technology. So that's what I know about AI as it relates to photo forensics work.
That's interesting, Seth. Yeah, it seems like there's always something there that makes it a little more complicated when we do the investigations. I remember with the Photoshop, how easily it was for people to add an object up in the sky and then submit that, and that was we were getting a number of those over a period of time. So it seems like any change or any new item in technology, maybe it might be helpful for us, and maybe not. But
well, look at the images we see now of UFOs compared to the ones that we see when every camera was film, single lens reflex film cameras. People would take shots of UFOs back when it was film, and it looked like a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
Now they look like blobs.
Yeah.
So the digital empire is not really that good for rendering accurate depictions of flying objects in the distance. And the worst mistake that the witness does is when he zooms in. So we can't even see that, how the motion is, because they zoom in past the trees and the buildings in the foreground. You can't even see them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the object becomes a blurry mess.
Right.
And then it has what's called pointer spread function. So it looks like a living cell that is breathing light blue and pinkish red colors out of it. So it's a white blurry dot with hues of blue and red coming up every now and then. And that all that is pointer spread function. It's an artifact or photographic noise created by doing the zoom in and the low light conditions.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's another thing that witnesses, they have to be trained to take pictures without zooming in all the way.
Yeah.
So that we can identify them easier.
Back then, there was Polaroid was used quite a bit. Is it still used, or is that now a process that's no longer?
I think there was a few years ago there was a company making Polaroid-like cameras. But
yeah, they're still out for more the novelty of it, but people are more just taking them for fun. I actually have I have a camera. It's a Polaroid where you can you upload your picture into like an app, and then it will print it onto the Polaroid. So the picture comes out like you took it on an old Polaroid with the shaking picture, and that's pretty cool. I think that's
cool.
neat.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I don't know if we could debunk that, or if it'll look like an original to us.
Yeah, right. So some of them, it's funny because some of the pictures, even as they're developing, they still have some of those weird quirks that you used to see. So it'll be like, the corner won't develop right, and we'll have kind of like a weird gray edge, or there'll be different spots, or the coloring will be off. It really gives you a good feel for the kind of vintage way the cameras would take the pictures.
Okay, let's go to the next slide here. So multiple techniques were used, to uncover what was really there. I did on the next slide, I did a forensics on the face. Now, I'm used to looking at it, but I can see the face tilted. I could see the cranium going back on an angle. I can see the eye sockets. I can see a very small nose, very small mouth. There's light coming in from outside across above the chin line, across the lips. You can see light coming across, so what we're dealing with here. So it depends what side of the aisle you're on. Next slide. So because some people would say what I was doing is I'm seeing what I want to be in the image, that there's really not a face there, and there, that it's pareidolia. I'm labeling it to be the face of a small creature, and or a small being, and but the problem is, because none of the images are authenticated, I really shouldn't make any claim that there's a 30-inch tall humanoid in this image. Next slide. I asked the investigator to gather more information, because I'm not willing to say that that's a 30-foot alien until I get more answers on the slide and the camera, and why there's pink all over the room there and all that stuff. And I want the original image. I don't want an edited image. If I have the original image, and it's got that pink little being in it, and I get answers to the questions, I'd be willing to say there's a 30-inch humanoid in this picture. But right now, I'm not saying it.
Well, fingers crossed the witness comes back to you.
Well, it's not my case. I was, but I do know the guy doing the both sides of the investigation. I made a lot of friends at MUFON.
Good,
so
good.
I can ask them to get it. Okay, next. Okay. Oh, here we are. Is it okay to talk about this real quick? And then
yeah. We'd love for you to close us out by talking about the boot camp.
Yeah. Okay. So, MUFON wants to train all their people to be the best possible investigators they can. Over 65% of the cases going into the CMS have images or videos attached to them. MUFON U is great, a great start, but it's only about 5 or 10% of the skills you need to be a good photo analyst. And photo analysis is really a very fun part of doing the cases. So we're having our first boot camp on May 16th through the 18th of 2025. We've already got 32 people signed up. We're capping at 50. And it's going to be in Cripple Creek, Colorado, in the mountains in May. A beautiful time to come up here. But there's going to be no roughing it at all. It's at a 4-star resort called the Chamonix Hotel and Casino. And that's where we're going to have it. Next slide. So there it is, May 16th through the 18th, 2025. You can register or get more information at coloradomufon.org or comufon.org. And if you have questions, further questions, you could do tina.c.dill54@gmail.com. She's my assistant state director. Excellent. See, Alex, when you left, it took me like years to put on assistant state director because you left.
Well, Seth, I'm only just across the border, so always happy to help with any cases you need.
Okay, next slide. The trainers are going to be John Craig. He is a scientist who was a Microsoft coder. He's written 50 books on coding. He's written 2 books on doing investigations with cell phones. Mark D'Antonio, he is our keynote person, and he's going to train the skills that he has for doing photo forensics. He's been on TV more than any of us. Myself, Dennis Fryermuth, who I think is the world's best photo forensic person. He's going to teach how to compose a complete forensics report. Sam Maranto, he's going to teach how to do photo analysis using a PowerPoint. And Donovan Weimer, he is an expert on analyzing cell phone images. So we've got really key classes that we're going to be teaching. It's hands-on. It's at Chamonix Resort and Casino. The breakfasts are included. We have a Star Watch on the back deck of our ranch, and we have a barbecue, and we're looking for a corporate sponsor to be able to throw in a free lunch at the keynote speech that Mark D'Antonio is going to make.
Well, thank you, Seth. That all sounds super interesting, and we hope to see everyone there. We are at the end of our show for today, but Seth, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
we had a great time speaking with you.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Awesome.
I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I really support KGRA and MUFON. So
we'll be in touch, Seth.
Yeah, thank you for your service there, Seth. Thank you so much.
Now I'm going back to work. take my suit off and go back to work.
There you go. Thank you, everyone.